Marcus Aurelius is one of the most famous and well-known Stoic philosophers ever. He was a Roman emperor from 161 to 180 after Christ, and the last ruler from a line later known as the Five Good Emperors. He held one of the highest positions of power in the world at the time, and would have had access to the realization of all his temptations and desires should he wish for them. However, he dedicated his life to fairness and justice. During his rule, Aurelius found the time to construct a series of autobiographical writings, now known as the Meditations, which has become one of the most essential texts within Stoic philosophy. In the Meditations, Aurelius describes guides on how to improve oneself. These mainly were focused on taking a cosmic perspective and critically analyzing your judgment of yourself and others. As a leader of a mighty empire that experienced multiple wars during his rule, Aurelius used his Stoic philosophy to let go of stress and worries and be the very best and most reliable leader he could be. Stoicism is an ancient and incredibly famous philosophy that, aside from a theory, is also a truly inspiring way of thinking and living. The Stoics strongly believed that doing the right thing was the key to individual happiness, and that sound judgment and clear, rational thinking were necessary to do the right thing. Lesson 1. Train your perception. Marcus Aurelius says, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." One of Stoicism's greatest lessons is taking control of your perception. We're used to judging everything we come across, any event we experience, any people we meet. We see all of them get a value judgment. Something is wrong, good, boring, fun, beautiful, ugly, etc. Unbeknownst to us, this is a very exhausting practice that might worsen our lives. For example, judging every interaction you have on a tough day as awful gives the day an even more pessimistic view. If you label a party you went to as boring, that is all it will be, that one boring part of your week. We often let our initial judgments of things be influenced by our emotions, which means they are most likely not entirely rational. Furthermore, our tendency to judge every moment of our lives goes hand in hand with a tendency to talk in metaphors and hyperboles that make things seem worse. If you get dumped by your partner, you might say your ex broke your heart instead of the fact that they no longer feel for you as they used to. This way of speaking, or rather this way of thinking, shapes your thinking. It is not the actual event that makes you feel bad, but how you unconsciously think about it. The Stoics, in contrast, encourage people to be careful to judge everything they come across and the things that they do. One of the ways to be careful is to undo your judgments, which means to look past them, to be able to forget your first instinct and judge something through a more optimistic and reasonable lens. You can try reframing that boring party in your mind as an event where you get to see a new place and meet new people. Okay, afterward, you might note that you didn't resonate with anyone, but didn't go in with the expectation of negativity. As such, practicing not to judge everything based on your first instinct and emotion is the best way to start training your perception of life. Whenever you think about anything in an opinionated way, try to ask yourself, is this rational? What have I based my opinion on? Is there a better or more positive way to interpret this? Marcus Aurelius stressed that harm can only happen if you consider them harmful. This means that any challenging experience you go through seems harder and worse the more complex you believe it to be. As such, you have complete control over how much certain situations affect you. The Stoics also encourage you to see every bad thing as an opportunity or source of good. As an exercise of training your perspective in a Stoic way, there is a challenge called turning the obstacle upside down. When a new coworker is a slow learner and their mistakes affect the company's profits, you might feel frustration. This coworker is an obstacle to your goal, effectiveness, efficiency, and profit. However, this situation can also be an opportunity for good. It is an opportunity for you to exercise and practice patience, become a better teacher, learn how to integrate new people into the company, and handle stressful times. These skills will also be useful later and help you increase profits in the long run. On this subject, Marcus Aurelius famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." So instead of judging everything you come across in an exaggerated sense, take the time to look at things as they objectively are. And you might find that life is more straightforward than you thought. Every situation has a more positive interpretation and a more negative one. When you adjust your mindset accordingly, you will find that nothing bothers you as much as it used to, and you will get through life much more quickly. Lesson 2. Learn to control your emotions. Marcus Aurelius advises us to stop letting our feelings override what our mind tells us. Stop being hypocritical, self-centered, irritable. Acting out of sense is often depicted as a stark contrast to acting rationally, and this is not without reason. There is nothing that clouds our judgment more than our own emotions can. So, if you want to think clearly at all times, one of the most essential skills to master is controlling your emotions. According to Marcus Aurelius, the emotion of anger, in particular, does us more harm than good. Contrary to many people, managing your feelings does not mean suppressing them. When you feel intense anger due to a betrayal, you cannot handle this anger by denying its existence to yourself or others, or by pretending you're fine. It will still be there, no matter how deep down you push it. Instead, controlling emotions such as anger is, according to the Stoics, done by redirecting emotions. So, when you are subsequently experiencing anger, ask yourself what you can do with that anger. Yelling at the one who hurt you might seem tempting, but will it help you lessen your hurt or better your situation? Will it help the one who betrayed you be better? In short, think about what you are tempted to do, and then ask yourself if it is helpful. If not, find ways to express your emotions that are helpful. You can achieve better results by calmly talking with the one who hurt you, explaining your feelings, and trying to see their side. You could also journal, participate in physical exercise, get lost in a video game, or do anything else to help you release your anger afterward. For another example, take anxiety or fear. You cannot simply push it down, but you can redirect it. Instead of letting anxiety paralyze you, you can use it to challenge yourself, to take those actions that make you feel it, and to acknowledge its existence. You're too scared to ask your boss for a raise. Many people see such fear as a reason not to do something, and they allow themselves to be stopped by their anxieties. Others might be able to go through with it and regard their anxiety as something that is in the way and needs to be pushed down and ignored. But neither has to be the case. Instead, your fear can be expressed healthily and may even be helpful. For example, this fear makes you think about everything that can go wrong, leading you to consider all the possible questions your boss might ask and all the counterarguments you might get to. In this way, you can brace for them and form a plan for each likely scenario. But most importantly, the fear provides a positive motivation to go through with it, to challenge yourself and grow as a person, to prove to yourself that you can, to make the step not despite your fear, but partly because of it. And in that scenario, you can be aware of the anxiety throughout and think, how awesome that I'm trying this anyway. When you redirect strong emotions easily, you will be calm no matter what, and your feelings will never lessen your ability to reason and make intelligent decisions. Controlling your emotions is the key to a more peaceful mind. Lesson 3. Exercise the dichotomy of control. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The dichotomy of control is the distinction between what we can control and cannot. For example, the weather, traffic issues, or people's thoughts about you are outside your control. But how you dress, at what time you leave, and the kind of people you surround yourself with, that you can control. So, whenever you face a situation that makes you feel a certain way, ask yourself, what can I control? Whatever you can control is a reason to act. Whatever you cannot control, you should learn to accept and embrace without letting it affect you. Learning to distinguish these two things and act accordingly can clear your mind instantly. An essential part of the dichotomy of control is amor fati, translated as love for fate. When you embrace life and all the circumstances it brings you, you will always love life. You cannot escape fate or decide cases out of your control, but you can choose to love your life no matter what. If you are rejected for a job you have wanted for years, you might think there is no redemption in such a situation. You wanted the job, tried and failed. You couldn't possibly pretend to love fate in a circumstance like this. However, this needs to be clarified. Instead of viewing the fact you didn't fulfill your ambition purely as a negative, investigate what led to the negative result and use it to make a positive move. Either the reason you didn't get the job was a failure on your part, in which case this is something you can control. You can work on those failings and try again when a similar opportunity appears. The reason was an external factor like nepotism or a personality clash with a hiring staff member. This was never in your control, meaning the opportunity never truly existed. And there's no point getting upset over something that has never existed. One part of accepting fate is distancing yourself from a fixed outcome and external success markers. If you want to be a writer, for example, and measure your success by the amount of sales your book makes, then you will let your success be controlled by the arbitrary book market of the time. But if you measure your success by how satisfied you are with your finished product or by how much work you put into it, then you are in control of your success. So, do everything in your power to try and achieve your goals, but remember that you might not reach them and accept this possibility in advance. If we occupy ourselves only with what is in our control and vow to accept everything that isn't the exact way it comes, we will find ourselves being calm whatever happens. Lesson 4. Embrace the virtues. Quoting Marcus Aurelius, "Delve deep within yourself, for a wellspring of goodness is ready to gush forth if you persist in your quest." A virtue can be seen as an excellence of character, or, more simply put, morally upright behavior. Such behavior benefits you and those around you, and contributes to the greater good. Stoicism embraces the idea of an interconnected universe where everything and everyone share a link. Consequently, what serves the greater good eventually benefits you as well. Thus, the Stoics firmly believed that those most in harmony with reason were the ones who dedicated themselves to the broader welfare. In other words, they practiced virtues. Contrarily, the absence of virtuous conduct is attributed to ignorance, according to the Stoics. When life propels you into unforeseen circumstances, virtues can be your guiding stars, directing you on the right path and keeping you grounded. This is why individuals most enriched with virtues often emanate tranquility and composure. To embody virtuous qualities, one must internalize the 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism: wisdom, justice, temperance, and courage. In the Stoic perspective, knowledge distinguishes between good, bad, neutral, and everything in between. It entails transcending the sway of emotions, allowing reason to govern what is morally just. Confronted with a dilemma, wisdom empowers you to analyze both options. Next comes justice. Wisdom is the foundation of justice, entailing a commitment to what is proper and equitable for oneself and others. The Stoics regarded it as a duty towards oneself, fellow humans, and society. Courage, the 3rd virtue, enables action even in the face of personal fear. It propels you to act for the greater good or undertake tasks despite uncertainty about the outcome. Courage doesn't entail eradicating fear, desire, or anxiety, but rather the conscious decision to proceed, surmounting emotional barriers. Lastly, temperance or moderation signifies maintaining a balanced path between extremes. It's about exercising self-control, restraint, and discipline. Marcus Aurelius highlighted the human trait of self-regulation, setting us apart from animals. Temperance prioritizes long-term well-being over fleeting gratification. Consider a mundane example: a bag of chips. Indulging in the entire bag might bring momentary pleasure, but it jeopardizes health and mood. Here, exercising temperance means pausing after a few bites. Wisdom is instrumental, engaging the right amount to consume before stopping. Stoicism categorizes things and actions into goods, evils, and indifference. The guiding principles were seeking the good, avoiding sin, and embracing boredom according to personal preference. Departing from these virtues equated to fostering evil, stealing, disrespecting, recklessness, or abstaining from good. Indifferent actions, such as taking a stroll, did neither. These principles offer more than personal betterment. They foster a state of serene composure. Aligning your actions with these virtues ensures you always tread the path of righteousness, guided by reason, thus cultivating a tranquil mind. Lesson 5. Embrace a broader perspective. In our concluding quote from Marcus Aurelius, he eloquently echoes Plato's wisdom. Whenever you want to talk about people, it's best to take a bird's-eye view and see everything all at once. Adopting a wide-angle view is a remarkably vital aspect of achieving mental clarity. In the hustle and bustle of life, we often find ourselves entrenched amid every issue, each challenge feeling as if it carries the weight of the world. Imagine being part of a small crowd. It might appear as if the entire city is suffocating in congestion. Yet shifting your vantage point just a few steps away can reveal a different reality. When we detach and contemplate the grand tapestry of our world and existence,